heard. Good day, beautiful family. 21st of June, 2024. Thank you for joining us, and happy solstice for yesterday/today.
Happy solstice.
If you've been with our community, you will know that we have been embarking on a fast. Some of us 21 days. The cleanse has been beautiful, and congratulations to all of you that did any number of days. It's an incredible achievement. It really is. Can you just confirm with us that you can hear us loud and clear, just so we know that we're not talking to a microphone that isn't working? Give us a little heart or a smile.
Or a wave.
Yeah. I hope that we're being heard. Sister, darling, can you hear us?
Yes.
Can you hear us loud and clear? I did see these hearts move here, which might mean we're being heard.
Can anyone just confirm that you can hear?
Yeah, stop being lazy. Get in the comments. Hello. Valkyrie, can you hear us loud and clear? Yes, you can.
Yeah, nice.
Thank you. So, as we always do, please get your comments, any type of topics you would like us to direct some energy and conversation towards. Please put them in the chat, because this is for you. And we appreciate you being a part of this live show. Thank you again for joining us.
Yes. I wanted to just start with a little bit about the solstice and my experience with fasting over the solstice and equinoxes that we've done with the community in the past. And I wanted to touch a little bit on sleep, because I always find around the solstice and the equinoxes, my sleep pattern changes a little bit. And I find that I don't need as much sleep for some reason. I don't know whether that's because I'm fasting, and obviously all of the blood that would be used for digestion is gone to healing the body. And
all of the lethargy you would have from some types of food
from digesting
has been left.
And also the importance of that rest period if you are fasting. Just letting the body regenerate and have its recovery. A lot of the quarter days, especially like in October on the equinox, they do say that, the veil is the thinnest between our sort of realm and the energetic realm as such. So these kind of things, when we look into, the ancient side of the astrological calendar, it brings about the saying as well of the purging with the summer flu, the winter flu, and this brings about, things like when beings get the flu and want to get vaccinated with that. This is quite a natural part of our purging process through the body's way of getting rid of toxins at certain transitions as we transition through the seasons. So it's really part of the process of that solar year. And this is kind of the reason why we do our fast. I know we've mentioned this in a few previous videos, but just to kind of recap on it, when we have those quarter days and the energies are shifting, the reason that we tend to embark on a cleanse or a fast with our community is because we find that it really helps us transition through those stages of the different seasons. So that's kind of what we found in our experience of fasting. And I'd love to hear any of you that are joining us that are fasting, that have been transitioning through those periods of time, because we've never been ill, have we, or sick in the time.
Not since the journey.
The time that the journey happened. Also, it's not just about the food and how we transition, it's about the kind of holistic package of our mindset and our emotional state and our connection to that. So it's kind of a holistic package that we kind of go through with the community.
You see, we notice over time that around these quarter days, most of the populace were getting sick. You know, most of the populace were having a seasonal flu or some seasonal issues or the purge. And just through our observation, we started to put this into our own experimentation, and obviously using these fasts as a time to cleanse and bring purity. There is some synchronization with the biofilms that hold, you could say, that stop the illness being broken down by the body, that they actually get thinner during this period as well, so it allows for that deeper cleanse. Also, we don't necessarily do this for it's not for healing purposes in this moment, because our diet's very clean and pure, and we've done so many previous fasts that our bodies are very good. It's more for longevity. It's more for that peace and that stillness, to allow our body just a nice little rest.
But if you know, when we look at also what happens on the solstice, especially these are the longer fasts that we tend to do, on the solstice, the sun stands still for 72 hours. And then it begins its ascent or descent for the summer or the winter months. So what we tend to do is do that 3-day period where we have that real deep cleanse with the water fasting, that our bodies are mimicking what's happening. So it's like as above, so below kind of energy that we're kind of tapping into. And it just feels right. And when I was going through my healing journey, fasting was a game changer for me, wasn't it? Now I'm at a point where, like Josh was mentioning, I don't really need to go in depth with fasting as much, because my food is very at a level that's very clean. My system's working a lot better than what it was before. So when you get to that state, you will know when you need a cleanse, but it is a really interesting one, and the experience has to be your own, because when someone tells you what it's like, it's really hard to kind of put into words. But you know, actually, if you are on a healing journey and would like any more information about that, then you know, come to the community, because we've got a big group that we've set up on Telegram with the community that kind of support and help and even guide.
They've been through it, you know, they've been through it incredibly for a good 3, 4, 5 years, some of them. And they do have acquired an incredible amount of experience and knowledge, so they can help you as well as us. You know, fasting is something that is one of the most important tools we have for our health. But what we've experienced and been blessed with to help so many others is you don't want to be doing things in a deficient way. So there's so many things that need to go into this, and depending on people's lifestyles, their diet currently, or the actual issues that you have, you can approach things very differently. So it is of an individual thing. You know, so no matter what disease or sickness or chronic ailment you have, there's a protocol, there's a way, there's a chance for you to be able to, we won't use the word cure, but to be able to reverse the symptoms that you've been experiencing.
And the freedom that you can feel from that, like what I'll briefly touch on why I started that journey, is that I had chronic sinus problems and digestive issues from years of, you know, trying to go to the doctors and ask them for help and advice. The sinus issues wouldn't clear up, so they put me on the antibiotics, which ruined my gut health. And I had to take it right back and strip it right back to be able to then rebuild the gut microbiome, to be able to stomach certain nutrients and rebuild it up from like ground zero.
Yeah, you have to realize that your microbiome, your gut, you could say, just changes its environment depending on the food quality or the foods that you eat. And the food of poor quality create more of a fungal environment that breaks down dead matter, and this can go into the body and find its way and is primarily the seat of disease. The candida, the
inflammation that, you know, you experience with these illnesses is the main cause of the problem, and the mucus that surrounds that. So taking things back with the right help and guidance. What we do say is that initially it's great to get that blood work done, so that if there is any borderline deficiencies, that we're not going into that area where we would have to.
And also symptoms of like real fatigue, tiredness, even chronic fatigue, Alzheimer's, all these things. You could just be having an underlying deficiency of B12, vitamin D, precursors to other hormones that just aren't regulating properly. And again, thyroid is another one that could be amongst the fruit-based, plant-based community as well.
Most of these illnesses and diseases come from that baseline of nutrient deficiencies, don't they, that we found in most beings that suffer with any disease or discomfort of any kind. It comes out in the physical, but it's very much an internal thing, that getting that blood work done, it is kind of the first stage to know where to take it from there. So if you're ever unsure, then that would be the first point of contact to go by.
Yes, nice to see you all there commenting. Again, thank you for joining us. The title today was Roses Grow from Concrete, Order Out of Chaos. What does order out of chaos mean to you at this current moment? Have you been embarking on a search for truth and found many conspiracies with the slogan order out of chaos? And you're trying to put the pieces together to figure out what this truly means? Do you think certain authorities create chaos so they can have order over you? Or do you think the chaos is an expression of consciousness that allows you to create order within? I would love to know how you are seeing this. And then we can bring some topics to this. So, Valkyrie, hello. Darlene, hello. Rachel, Tina, John, Shubnish06, it's good to see you there. Rod says, is it hard to separate current 3D from what is possible? I would love a small amount of elaboration on how you interpret current 3D, because other people may not interpret it the same. Do you mean like a current matriarchal system that has been controlling one's thoughts, feelings, and emotion, breeding the egoic identity, causing the immense amount of suffering through mind? How you separate that and the constructs that are there stop or limit the possibilities that are within each and every one of us. So we can just take it a little bit more deeper for you.
That smoothie sounds good.
Was that a smoothie, yeah?
Yeah,
okay.
I think, smoothie
Kiwi,
made
spinach, green,
itself.
grape, avocado, pressed pineapple smoothie.
Nice. I used to like putting avocado with smoothies because it makes it like a creamier texture, doesn't it?
Just beware, when you blend kiwi, if you've noticed a bit of a spice or
kind of like
a bitter burn in your throat from the smoothie and you can't quite put your finger on it, it's the kiwi. So what I would say is don't really blend the kiwi up. Chop it up on top of that smoothie and eat it, because those seeds are kind of impalpable. They're not very nice to consume once blended. If you have been finding that, let us know.
So a couple of questions have come up on our community this week with regards to healing. Whereas it is a very individual kind of journey, there are lots of protocols that are very similar that we've got on.
I mean, the protocol's the same, but it's very different for each individual how they get there. You can't tell somebody who hasn't necessarily been through certain elevated practices to then jump to the end. You have to find out how to be able to get inside of people. It's like making people aware of their mental health or trying to overcome personality and the constant identification with ego mind. You could say the same thing 1,000 days in a different way. And the people that listen to it, they only find what they need in one of those videos on the 1,000th day. So it's really individual, and it's so great to be able to communicate with people back and forth, which allows the reciprocation to go deeper with them.
And the consciousness is like I kind of relate it to like watching. If you watch a film, you watch it once and you see certain things that you kind of resonate with, and you think, yeah, that's right. And then a few months later you watch it again. I didn't notice that part. And then things start to unfold again. So you're ready to hear what you're ready to hear at that specific time.
And also it shows that you interpret things differently as you evolve as well, or as you progress, or you shift your perception. And the perception is your creation. Whether you have the ability to create it consciously or is created unconsciously from the subconscious, you do have the ability to change the way you perceive the world. And when you can change the way you perceive the world, you have a certain level of mastery, and then you can start to shape, mold the way the persona is seeing or interpreting life. And Rod said the current 3D is a part of duality experience in here. Duality is experienced when one is the self identifying as the persona. It's the one that wears the mask. And whatever social construct or experience that persona has been through creates the perception in the present. So everyone has a different way to perceive the world. Everyone is experiencing very different things. So only when one transcends duality or the personality through what is called the great work, does one get to experience life as it is. Otherwise, life is interpreted via mentalization, and you'll hear it as a dialogue within your awareness or your field of awareness that is interpreting reality in the moment. As one sees a beautiful bee buzzing around the garden, sitting next to them, maybe landing on them and enjoying that experience, someone else is running around frantically, screaming, waving their hands because the fear that's manifest from the bee. Now, it's the same with spiders. There's a mass fear of spiders, and you ask anyone who's afraid of spiders if they've been bitten or have had an incident where they should be afraid of spiders, and they haven't. This is the identity that's formed from observing other people in your surroundings or through the life process of growing up. And it's a false self. It is a illusory conditioning. And to transcend duality is to fully understand the ego, mind, and its traits. Having the ability to transcend them through recognition, acceptance, and surrender, and applying yourself consciously, contemplating to create a new positive outlook on life is the first step.
And what we can do with this so-called duality aspect, though, is use it to our advantage as such for experiences. We're here to experience through, our senses and the self. So when we say causing suffering, if we're okay with all of our choices and we accept all of our choices, and the past is the past, and we just keep living that momentary experience, this is when we're truly free. The only time we get caught up in the net and the duality kicks in, and the order out of chaos that Josh was mentioning earlier, is when we identify and we accept the mind's perception of something that has happening, or is programmed in our, part of our conscious programming that we've grown up with, of fear, anxieties, worries, resentments, and all of that baggage that we take along with us, if we can sever those chains and just experience, this is our gift. And that's why it's called the present moment, because this is that gift that we've been given, the experiential gift. And, these are the things that we can pick up and use and drop when we don't need it. And that's the beauty of consciousness.
You'll notice you're always fine before you feed into the idea of negativity. The mind is very attracted and holds and stores a lot of negativity. It tends to focus on negativity until you can consciously shift and change and manipulate that. But all the chaos that is perceived in the world, especially when people embark on a journey of truth, they go searching for answers, and they find a lot of people who are also trapped within the spiritual identification,
intellectual,
or the spiritual movement, or just the conspiracy side of things. And without a full understanding of consciousness and recognizing that all is an expression of consciousness, they see the imperfections which are actually perfect. Now, from the perceived chaos that we have found within the world, it's an opportunity to be able to embark on a journey that you embrace, observe, recognize the instability and emotions and fear, anxiety, desires to change the world, all that suffering you experience, just simple things like the chemtrails in the sky, or the thing that we experienced a couple of years ago when everything shut down. The ego wants to make other people aware of it because it believes that when other people know more, it's going to end. And the more that people know, the better chance we have. It also makes people feel good about themselves when they have information that someone else is talking about, so they can stay trapped and just watching other people talk about the same thing because someone else at least knows what they know. But these negative emotions that arise from these experiences are absolutely for transcending, because the situation stays the same whether you suffer during that process or not. And it's down to you to understand the mechanics of your mind to be able then to be in control of it and not have this instantaneous fight or flight mechanism, not to be led by suffering in your life because you have a desire to change things. You can change things without the desire and suffering. But first, or the most paramount thing that each and every one of us can do, is transcend this duality within inside ourselves and see things as they are. Understanding the power of will is one of the most important things that you could ever do, to allow the deeper part of your subconscious to be able to leave certain things that reside at the surface. When you can't change anyone else's will because you've understood this at a very deeper level, the subconscious doesn't have a desire to change other things. It loses it. So when you're with your partner and you're having this, the arguments that the normal relationships tend to have, because at some point you think your partner should or shouldn't be doing something, you just let it go because it's not serving you. And when you force your will, you try to coerce other people into seeing as you see, the energy actually opposes each other. It repels and it pushes away. So the very thing that you're trying to create is happening as an opposite. So then one who is observing can see the relationship between their thoughts, their feelings, their emotions, their actions, and their words. And these things here are what we feel is the most important thing one can gain mastery over, to create the life that you want to live. Because every time you act, let's say in accordance with your will, your truth or your authenticity in that moment, and you're not suppressed by thought, you're not lacking action because of fear, you're opening up the next opportunity that is bringing you in alignment with your divine true will.
And what that does is opens up the communication aspect of the energy, and therefore you're able to reciprocate that energy with other beings and other aspects of your life, other experiences of your life. And then you bring in that which you need for that specific moment. And it's called magic. And beings are kind of under the illusion that magic happens with, this.
It's the opposite though. See, that's the word of illusion that people perceive as magic. But magic is actually real, but it happens without illusion.
And it happens without trying, and it happens without, you know, when you throw something and you get it straight in the bin, or you don't try and it goes straight where you want it to.
Modern day people, they flip bottles.
Yeah,
flip a
but
bottle.
it just works because you weren't thinking, you weren't paying attention to it, you just did it, and in the moment it just went there because it was supposed to. And then you try and replicate that because the mind's like, oh my gosh, that's amazing, let's do it again, let other people see. Doesn't work. Just, it is that magic is that
It's you engage in thought, then the focus is on mind. The focus has been absolutely taken away from this moment. There's no faith in the experience because fears manifest because other people are watching. You see how this is the controlling factor which takes away the truth and the real magic that exists. Only when you alleviate yourself from the mental imagery, the mentalization, and focus on the mind, do you then become in control once again. It's like public speaking, for example. People who try to think about what they're going to say, they write notes, they're very focused on their notes, and they read it. They might think that's good, but it doesn't create a relationship with the audience because
it's not authentic.
Friends, family, audience, whoever you're speaking with, what's attractive is authenticity. It's the original you. It's you without the smoke or mirrors behind it, and that's all that matters. You know, when you can really be yourself, you see that you don't have to pretend to be anything else. You don't engage in thought is of the past. You know everything that you need to know in this moment to be able to project it perfectly. But when you focus on thought, you become stuck, you freeze, you have brain fog. You're not in that flow.
The ego loves the comfort blanket. It likes to know, predict, and, you know, it likes to be in that comfort zone. The only way to get growth or to receive that evolution is to become uncomfortable and then bring that energy into balance. So, like, if there's something that triggers you, I always say, go and be with that. Be at peace with that and balance with that. If you don't like the weather, go out and enjoy the elements. If you don't like the music, go and sit there until you enjoy it.
Or see behind the why you didn't enjoy the music. Is it the idea behind it?
When you have peace with that, that's when you're free from that suffering. It's not removing yourself from that aspect because it's still underlying. There's a trigger there that needs to be looked at. And the only way that we really benefit from that growth and that teaching and that lesson is to dig into that uncomfortable area and be balanced with it. And that, now that I understand that, I embrace these challenges that used to scare me. You know, the fearful aspect of the not knowing, the unknown part of the ego, which doesn't like to not be in control. I now embrace that. And if there's something that happens to be a trigger, I will always go and embrace that as my highest teaching and hold it in gratitude. I have so much gratitude for the hard parts of my teachings because that's where I get the most growth from.
How many people hyper focuses on negativity? Can you recognize the stimulus within the world and the mind, how it says negative.
Labeled.
You know,
not good.
How long have I got left? An hour. Wish I had 2. How long have I got left? An hour. Oh, it should be half hour. You know, however the mind's interprets, that is related to how you feel, the emotional feel connected through these thoughts and feelings. And you can be in control of this very, very simply, but it takes application, it takes practice, it takes time.
It does.
And a full understanding of, you know, certain ideas or concepts within inside this we call it the virtue system, you know.
In the UK, I was just thinking then when you were saying that, a lot of beings talk about the weather here. So when it's cloudy, you can't. And then it's raining, it's raining.
It's too hot.
And then it's sunny and it's too hot here. There's always something about the weather, and it's just a label. You can see the beauty in everything if you just hold it with gratitude. And that's the turning point. When you have those labels that take you, that's amazing, that's not so good. This is the roller coaster ride that you're on.
Gratification, happiness, joy.
Crash.
Sadness, depression, anxiety.
And that's when you have those two sides, the duality that you were talking about there. Rob, and that's when you get that clash, and it's one side and the other, and it can be bickering with a partner. It can be the child not understanding. But if you take that and have gratitude for that situation, surrender those thoughts, accept what's happening, use it as a growth technique or a growth practice, embrace it, and it really becomes such a lovely part of your journey.
You can't accept, or you cannot fully accept, unless you truly understand that you cannot change other people. You cannot change the past. You lose the desire to control the future. Things are as they are, they were as they were, they will be as they will be. And as soon as that's really integrated into your awareness, the acceptance becomes very easy. We always say you drop your plate of family's food, smash, you just spent an hour making it, what can you do? Why stress? Why suffer? Why shout? Why scream? Laugh, smile. What can you do?
And the reason that it happened is divine. Like we often say about the traffic, if there's traffic, it's for a reason. There might have been a crash that you could have been involved in. The reason that we're late for something is a reason. It's just divine. So when you see it like that, it helps.
Yeah, it's better that you form a positive outlook than the negative one, because you feel that, you create that. There's no point in creating something, or how do you know the divine was in the way? Well, listen, it feels much better being involved with the divine and having the idea that you are protected and everything is perfect than it does to feel like you need to rush, things are imperfect, and that trail of negative energy continues to create through your day.
And actually, the positive and negative are just different poles, the polar opposites. What happens is that most beings live in the negative. So by bringing that positive aspect or outlook, it just draws us closer to the midline. And that's when we can become more balanced, is that it actually doesn't matter whether it's negative or positive. It just is. So when we can have that peace and that balanced state, that's when we can become truly free from all of these concepts that are holding us down.
After you found acceptance, then it's the surrender of the thought itself, or thoughts themselves. But you can only get to proper surrender when you understand acceptance, because then deep within the subconscious and conscious mind, that none of that serves you. None of these thoughts, none of these feelings or emotions that come up through this negative perception serve you. So why attend to them? Continually attending to thoughts, you are continually identifying as persona. You live in a constant reactive space. That reactive space is pre-programmed from mind, ego, and you're not actually free. So you have become the automatic man who lives in duality, is the self, but is the personified version of the self, and has no idea about its true source.
When Josh just said reactive state, it is an act. So we're acting out something that's pre-programmed that the ego feeds to us. So we're not actually having that experience of life.
Why shouldn't someone say what they said to you? Why shouldn't your partner do this?
Why are you the victim?
It's when we stop blaming others and we look inside ourselves, we realize it was the perception and the judgment that we have on others that creates this negativity. So it's down to us inside, and make this opportunity to tune or fortuning ourselves. These are the most important things that anyone could ever make sense of. And as you start to make sense, you're making the sixth sense, which is a mind that is separate from ego, that is fully aware of itself, that is connected to all things, and has a really deep understanding of the way life works.
We've got a video on Josh's YouTube channel that really explains this. If you want to go in a little bit deeper to the kind of aspects of knowing thyself, it was probably a couple of years ago now that we did it, wasn't it? The one that we
You say what video?
The God-Man, the alphabet.
Okay.
Yeah, so we can maybe
Got
put it in the description.
some comedy in the comments tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
It's another one. Nice to see you again, Stephen Seagal.
You're always Stephen Seagal.
Yeah, thank you so much. Can we make these better using the virtues?
Mr. Seagal. Honestly.
Yeah. Me and Stephen Seagal set it up.
Yeah.
The virtues, especially what we've done on our website, the course that we've created gives you a really deep understanding of the nature of the traits that exist within inside personality, all the compartmentalized areas which create suffering. Bring it to light, allow you to see your ego, allow you to see the mind, and give you the ability to shift, change its perception, also accept and surrender that. Building up a really vast awareness, which essentially leads you to purity, immaculate conception, presence, if you put in the time and energy into it.
On the website, you've just launched one of the last virtues, haven't you? Which one was it that we just covered? Humility. Humility is just. I think we've got one more to do.
Temperance, balance of all the virtues.
And this covers a really intricate, complete guide to how to look into the tricks of the ego self and the illusions and the traps that may, like the questions that you need to be looking at.
People that do it and embark on the journey, we see them, we know who you are. We
I think probably Tina's with us tonight, isn't she?
Absolutely smashed it.
Incredible. Tina did the 6 weeks transformation challenge with us, and she totally embraced it. She did every aspect, from the body aspect, from the training, the posture, the workouts, and the mind, going deep into the mind, looking at what triggers her, and then the emotional content that came up with that, connections with families, friends, external energies that come up. So, a lot of beings that we've had throughout this year that have come on the 6 weeks transformations with us have really benefited from the holistic
life's a change, and it's just giving you the ability, as they say, give a fisherman a fish and he'll fish forever, No, he won't fish forever. You need to give him a fishing rod. So give him a fishing rod and he'll fish forever. This is what we're doing. We're giving you the foundations and all the tools you need to then allow yourself. What happens once you've embarked and have this level of knowledge is just an inward revelation time after time. You just continually get these revelations. You understand more about yourself. You see why you were suffering, why you created reactivity. Then you clean that up, and it just is a continual journey until freedom is with you. It's so profound,
we're kicking off the next set of 6 weeks challenges now that the solstice is coming up. So if you would like to have any more information on that, or would like to join us on that, then
the email in the chat. If you want to email in the chat, you can just inquire with us there
in the description.
But we're looking at starting probably about the 1st of July, that one, and then we'll have another one in the fall. Okay, let's get to some of these questions.
Someone first of all asked if we're still on.
Can we learn to calm ourselves even when the world is chaotic, and so bring order to our own world or life out of the chaos? That's chaos is only chaos when you can't handle it, because it is what it is. If you see it as it is, there's nothing to interpret. People who go to England football matches, or Manchester United, maybe don't hold me to this, maybe 30,000 people in the crowd. Someone who might have social anxiety or has labeled herself as social anxiety goes there and sees chaos. They're just hyper focused on the noise. They're incredibly fearful of the situation. Too many people. Yet someone who goes to watch the sport loves and embraces all the sound, the energy behind everyone. So
what it actually does, though, to the players, what that energy is doing to the players, all of those angels that are on either side are directing energy at them. Those coliseums, those stadiums, and the ancient stadiums, they're generating that power of being's energy.
You can feed off of it for sure. What it does, it creates, you could say, a somewhat of gratification, but a lot of confidence and a lot of energy from it. But also, it can do the very opposite if you're not balanced.
It can crash you. Like I was watching a little bit about David Beckham. He was really popular back in the day with football, and he made a wrong move in his industry, and
he missed the penalty, I think.
No, he kicked someone, didn't he?
He
kicked someone, and he was absolutely taken apart by the public. The media took it to a whole new level, and his world crashed. People were, sending him some really mean things, and this is all the highs and lows of that roller coaster that you can go on.
But
he was
if we take it into consideration of the virtue, he reacted. He lost his temper. He kicked out. Then life, with the relationship of the actions, his thoughts and feelings, manifest a situation for him that he needed to overcome.
Changed
to show him
his
the
world.
magnitude of his reactivity. And this is what you'll see. And I wanted to say this when Misha was talking about the 6-week transformation. What you'll see, if you do intensely, or you take this journey yourself and you really focus on it, every time you let go of an illusion, you break a boundary, you let go of fear or limitation, you'll see things align with you. When we say the word issue is you, it is and has and always will be you. No matter how people are treating you or how people are acting, and you have this idea or will for things to change, but yet you still act in reactivity, you're closing off the doorway to this perfection that you see and opening up negativity for you then to still be reminded that you have to overcome this. But when you overcome it and you surrender it and then you progress, you'll see that actually everyone now is changing the way that they're being towards you. Your interactions are very clean, clear and pure. And those relationships that might have seemed like they were fading away, breaking down, or even broken down, suddenly they come around. And as you're embarking on this great work, you'll see that you will be tested each week by your life. And it happens each week. You'll see that you'll have a conversation, some test will manifest, and then you need to overcome this. Otherwise, another test will manifest.
But like we spoke of earlier in the show, embracing those triggers or those tests are key to that accelerated growth, and the growth that you get from it is just so magical. It's like a breath of fresh air, that deep breath. And when you do start embracing these challenges that may come along and these tests that Josh was speaking of, there is that you really gain speed with it, and you really gain the tools and the practices that are put in place to overcome anything, and it just feels great. It's like a light bulb moment once you can switch that balance over and know that everything is internal and that it's all you, it's in you, you control it, you're the master of your reality, your own world. Take control, take the reins back, and don't let that control come through from your character that your persona is playing.
Yeah, I mean, I love the conspiracies around the order out of chaos that we were speaking of earlier. They say that there's, I think it's been many years, maybe 20 years now. I'm an old git.
Yeah, I'm older than you.
I know you're even an older git. When you see the back of the dollar bill and it's got the pyramid with the 13 steps and the olive leaves or all of these branches, and then you see order out of chaos written on there, and the interpretation of it is very different, and over time, if you continue to elevate, you'll see more depth to it. And Freemasonry and the Cabal and all these types of things, or the Kabbalah, should I say, they're all here to help you elevate yourself beyond your limitations of personified self. They're here to help you progress. But what the world's done has bastardized this information to make those who believe surface information and hearsay stop any type of progression because they haven't actually experienced it for themselves. And that's one of the parts in duality, is many boxes are created. Many people will find themselves hyper-focused on certain types of information, build their spiritual or new persona around this. They become preachers instead of teachers.
Oh.
They force instead of give effortlessly when people are intrigued or inquisitive about certain situations, and they become very emotional around the subject. They look down on people if they don't have that certain amount of information, and they believe they are or have created a higher or elevated state and look down on others. This is another trap. And there are so many traps. It's like when people, they want to learn more about persona, or they're looking for enlightenment, but they're on that journey. They might be plant-based, they might be vegan, they might be fruitarian. They might feel
they dress a certain way, they don't shave, they don't cut their hair.
And they might be put off by finding out someone, for example, let's say Muji, still eats meat and has a chicken curry, and they say, well, he can't be enlightened if he does this. And that's coming from one perception here. But enlightenment is not through actions, it's through surrender of mind and ego
and suffering.
It's this false identity is created, which gives you a limitless ability to experience and create experiences that you want to without any ramifications of mind, without any suffering engaged in it.
And that kind of fits in a little bit with someone spoke about the raw bliss.
Is that redhead boy?
Yeah, he was raw for many years, and now he's apparently, I haven't seen this, but he's eating dead carcasses. I can't confirm that, but
somehow randomly raw bliss came up as a suggestion, and he was eating raw organs from dead carcasses. May I ask if you guys have started now?
So this again is happening a lot with the vegan raw community, because a lot of them are getting sick from their diets because they're nutrient deficient and they're not catching it in time. So what's happening is that their body is okay for a while because the inflammation goes from their Western diet, and they're cleansing the system, so you feel great for a couple of years. And then the deficiencies start to happen because the food is not grown with the proper nutrients from the soil. It's not uptaking that, so our bodies can't get what they need from just that. And the supplementation of the Western diet, is fortified, heavily fortified. So if we come off of those products and just have a holistic diet, and the food isn't grown properly, we're eating commercial food, then we struggle with deficiencies. So where do we lie with that? And this is why it's very crucial to have that blood work. And a lot of the spiritual community, we spoke about this before, they don't want to, because it's part of the system. And again, they'd rather suffer than be well.
We're not here to separate you from the system. We're here to point you into a space where you can learn to appreciate the benefits of the system, take from it what you will, and leave what you won't.
And that's probably why Raw Bliss, I can't quite place his name, but he's probably finding that he's got the deficiencies and his body is not functioning.
And he's searching.
And this is the same as the vegetable police. Many diseases come from deficiencies, and if unchecked, then you can get severely ill. If you are at some levels that we've seen, vitamin D and B12 are a rock bottom, isn't it, in the community?
Austin, that's right, is running.
Austin, yeah. And he's just searching for his own truth. And we, even when Josh was mentioning these people that get stuck on the conspiracies, this is the divine. They are on their journey for a specific divine reason, and they come into your path for a divine reason to see if it triggers you. Now, again, coming back to this question about eating raw carcasses or dead carcasses, the way that we express that is, it sounds like if there's suffering there, that someone else is on their journey and they need to eat that specific food to gain control or mastery or experience that, see if they have deficiencies that they need to develop, something else to help them with. Having that perception of them eating that way and being wrong for them it's their will to do so. It's not for us to judge and say that our journey is the right one for everyone, because it's not. That's suffering for the individual that's making that judgment.
Yeah.
So we need to be aware of judgments and expectations of others, forcing, putting words into the energy field that might trigger someone else.
The first thing that comes to me is it's really good to see someone experiment, and if they're
100%
eating a certain diet or lifestyle that doesn't work for them, you know,
really
he might be being led by other
influencers,
influencers, or things like this, but he needs to go on that journey to really understand. And if he doesn't, then he's just continually guessing. So one of the most important things is, which I am so blessed and thankful, I answered all of my questions. I haven't had any questions for 7 years, 5 years, you know.
And the suffering is surrendered now. Like for him, for Austin Robles, I take my hat off to him, because it takes a lot for someone to be so driven by one specific part. This was his whole world at one point. And for him to turn around and say, you know, that's not me anymore, and to come out and say that, and to free his authenticity and his communication takes a lot of courage. And I feel like, well done.
Yeah.
I don't see it as, oh, he's switched from raw to, he's not suffering anymore, because before he would have probably kept quiet, because he would have thought, oh, there's a lot of people that would judge me for saying this out in the open, to speak my truth. But he's freed his energy, and the fact that other people are judging him is their issue, not his.
Yeah, the judgment's within, and if people project that judgment onto him, those words may carry measure in him, but hopefully he's at a position or a space that he doesn't get affected by other people's opinions. And that's what is most important for each and every one of us, is to not let the outside world affect the inside world, or affect us in any way, shape or form. Because if that happens, it means somewhere deep rooted inside our subconscious mind, persona, mask, where, however you want to perceive it, there's a desire to change other people. There's a desire to change what's just happened, or what somebody has said.
And that we know better. Like, who are we to say we know better? When we first started on this journey and we've seen the healing effect of the foods, we tried to push it on to our families, and it caused a lot of energy breakdowns.
Well, it takes a lot of energy to try to convince people. You know, you're spending all this time and energy, and really, if somebody's intrigued and interested, they're more than likely going to ask questions when you don't push it. You just be the light of the conversation. You come in, you're happy to see everybody eat as they eat, you eat as you eat. People start to question it. Why do you eat like this? You know, I eat like this because of this, because I felt like this, and I don't feel like it no more. You know, and when one really understands energy, you'll see that everything is energy. All your thoughts, your feelings, your actions, your words, they all carry energy. They all have a certain level of karma attached to them. And to be free from this is to have this holistic understanding of all of them, which can be time. It can take time for somebody on a journey. It may take lifetimes. Or if you find the right pointer, teacher, however you want to see it, they can help you change your world very quickly if you're willing to apply.
Yeah. So coming back to the suffering side that you mentioned with the animals, the suffering is within your being. If you are trying to speak for something or someone else, you have an element of suffering within your being, because you're taking on board their feelings or thoughts or emotions.
Or you're imagining what people think or feel. And it's hard enough to deal with your own thoughts, let alone other people's, especially if you've created a world of illusion.
And this is a similar thing to what Josh and I say about, you know, the protesters that stand outside of these slaughterhouses or anything that they're protesting against, the road, or the pay,
cars,
or, you know, the pay, or the oil, anything that people are protesting for, and they suffer because they're there and they're like let's do this, we're going to make a change, we're going to stop this from happening, and it actually doesn't change it.
Consciousness is expressed across all of the plane through each and every one of us, and as consciousness evolves in its own way perfectly, the scene, the scenario, the world changes. You don't need to do anything. There's plenty of unconscious programs out there pushing, doing what they do, preach and preach and preach and preach and preach. And, it takes no effort to change the world. It takes effort to keep the world as it is. And when we, you see perfection all the time. If you just sit with it, oil, even though the inventions are suppressed as free, the ego has been minimizing and shrinking for thousands of years. And we're in that progressive space right now. We're actually in a point in time now where there is opportunity for everyone to be able to surrender the ego, to be able to evolve very fast and essentially complete the life's mission, to end duality, to recognize self while experiencing. You have the monetary system, the fiat fraudulent system that's being shaped and changed now through more of a blockchain crypto way. You have the plantations or commercial farming where this is what I wanted to say earlier actually when we were talking about illness system. Soil and digestion, or let's say gut bacteria, they're like symbiotic. And just as people's gut bacteria now is degrading and isn't properly functioning, creating a perfectly balanced body, the soils aren't. And it's down to the foods that people are consuming. The soils need a perfectly balanced microbiome, fungus, and a different microlife than is currently being experienced in commercial farming. This is why deficiency is
rife.
Is here and now within people in this type of community, because we're not having any type of supplementation, or we may be opposed to supplementation because we believe we're eating the right foods. Now, if you had a garden that was loved, that was nourished and treated right without any chemicals, anything artificial, this biome would be perfect. You would have B12 in your foods. You would have everything that you need. But this needs to be understood amongst the community that this isn't the case. But farmers are going to start to realize that they've destroyed all the land that they worked so hard to build and to own and to create a generational business, And that soil will have to be left. It will have to go certain processes to rejuvenate and regenerate it. But these practices of ancient times, they will become a part of the future and present. Initially, there'll be more expensive foods because it'll only be a niche, but that niche will be the one that survived and lasted through the test of time. And you'll see the world start to bring an alignment of perfection. You're seeing it with the money, you're seeing it with working. People 60 years ago, they used to work, the man used to work, the mother used to bring up the children, they could survive fine, own a house, car, pay everything, 5 children on one job, one working man's wage. And this has changed and it's come to a point now where everyone has been working. Consciousness projected certain concepts that made women want to be equal as men, so they work as well. So people chose and they walked down this path themselves. This is now being recognized by, you would say, what some people would call toxic masculinity, where they're saying that things worked a lot better prior to this. You're starting to see this recognition. This is shifting and changing the way that consciousness is being seen. This is an injection into the matrix. So the youth now are going to be very more aware. They're going to have a lot more opportunity to become this side or this side. Now, these two sides that remain, you could say masculinity, femininity together in one side, and nature, natural, liberty, and Ital ways another. These will separate in a perfect way, and one will survive and one won't necessarily survive as a concept. And within the next sort of 50 to 100 years, everything will be in perfect alignment once again. And it's consciousness doing it itself. That's the
But it's
point that I was trying to
absolutely
get through.
perfect for this moment. So when we decide that things aren't right and we shouldn't do something,
Mhm.
this is when we need to look at it as, I'm suffering here. Why am I suffering? You accept that this is the way that it is.
Can you change
have
it in this moment? You know, that's what you have to
You
ask
have
yourself.
no resistance within the being.
Yeah.
It's that, you know, if we look at what you've said here with regards to you suffer because, you know, you feel for that with creation.
Okay.
And it's like the suffering comes from the thought that people shouldn't or should be doing something.
Yeah.
It's not if it's right or wrong that you've labeled that. It's the feeling that you're trying to say that someone shouldn't do it.
Yeah. That's what causes you suffering, and it'll continue the cycle of samsara within you.
And the karma that you're speaking of that was served those, you're still not clearing your karma because you're still having that suffering energy within you from an external source.
Those animals that are being consumed are at the evolutionary stance themselves that they need to be consumed and go through that process. And for someone to say that it's wrong is going against the natural ordinance of consciousness. You see that judgment that you have is looking into the world and it's feeling negative from the actions that other people are doing because it believes it knows better when it doesn't, and it can't because it is happening. You know, and those that eat it need to eat it. Those that are eaten need to be eaten. And if you look at it any other way, you're the one that finds and feels the suffering within, because it's not looking at it from the nature of consciousness itself, which is the divine will
of others,
which creates the chaos, and through that chaos order is found within.
But you know,
no offense, but sometimes you talk nonsense. I love it.
We don't take offense to anything or anyone that says anything, because you know, when you can balance your energy and have that clarity of openness, it's lovely to have an exchange of energy. And I hope you're not feeling like, you know, when you say yes, you shouldn't, it's like you're telling someone.
Yeah, you shouldn't. You know, we can only speak for ourselves. That's the most important thing that we can do. When we start telling other people, we've lost ourselves, we've lost our natural flow, we've lost the ability to be still and present, to be virtuous and kind. Because who are we to tell anyone what they should and shouldn't do? You know, thou shalt not kill. You can interpret that any way you wish. And whatever you feel good with interpreting it is the way that you need to interpret it.
Because I feel when you say thou shalt not kill, I feel like what's happening inside your being when you're suffering, you're killing cells, you're killing life force, life energy.
You're killing the connection to the source and
to the divine itself. And like when you say, you know, that's what we should be doing, is you're making a huge judgment on other beings' path, and it creates that friction. It's not a free-flowing energy throughout the energy systems of the body. So you have to be okay with what other beings are doing around you, and for you to stand up in the picket line and say, no, I'm right, you're wrong, is that, you know, we've learned over the years that, you know, we've tried to help so many beings, and now we just let beings be free.
Because you can't help them unless they're willing to help themselves.
Unless they're ready to open that channel.
And you say thou shalt not kill. Maybe 1% of people who consume meat would kill their own meat. Maybe less than that. and they don't see it as that process. And it could be seen as unfortunate that they don't. If they did, they might have a higher respect for life and how it's treated. But there's this incredible synchronicity of life, and it's embedded through the nature of consciousness and is expressed through physicality and form. And that is divine expression. It really is. And how the ego mind interprets it is entirely down to itself. And what we would love, or what we found great for us, is you reconcile the negativity that you see in the world with yourself through in-depth contemplation to a way that makes you feel balanced and free from negativity.
But remember what we spoke of, I don't know if you were here still, maybe the middle part of this chat, but when we said what triggers you is your greatest teacher, and let's embrace this. So if it's had some form of trigger for you, when you say, oh, don't take offense, it doesn't trigger us because we have no connection to one way
There's
or
no
the other.
instant reactivity that has a desire to change or control the way that others speak. That's done through really in-depth work, through an understanding that you cannot change it. Now, if I had a desire to change you, I would maybe get red in the face, get a little bit aggressive, or feel some emotion arise, but does it serve me in any way, shape, or form to try to manipulate or change you, your perception, or anyone, or anything other than outside of myself? Now, if I don't want to eat meat, I don't eat meat. If you don't want to eat meat, you don't eat meat. And the world's more likely to change by someone who has an effortless flow and doesn't eat meat, because it influences people through its light.
Yeah, you're the light. And you are the one that is guiding others through your not suffering, through your energy that's communicating authentically. Because what happens, I hope this hasn't triggered any emotional state to the fact that you want to not continue the conversation, because it's nice to have this exchange of energy, because it opens up pathways within your being that helps you to express and overcome things that may be hidden within the ego state that want to control others.
And believe us, we've been there.
We have.
You shouldn't kill people, and then there's trial, but they do, and they say, so what? And you get emotional. It just doesn't serve you, and it's not serving anyone. For the greater good, it's best that the energy within you is balanced, because it's more attractive, and it aligns your divine, your will, your personal will, with an experience, which is to experience life, focusing on other things that don't cause harm to life, bringing a sight or a new seeing to the world that is very different than the one that maybe has been focused on.
And when you're open to that, when you say, no offense, but you speak nonsense, when you're open to a communication with other beings that may have a different way to you or a different energy, when you embrace that, it's so lovely. Like, we used to like to be around vegans and festivals and people that were similar to us. And now we just love interacting with other beings that are still either eating meat or,
because
doing
you'll see
other
that
things
when
that
you
we
go
may
to
not.
these places,
Persona.
they're less free than the normal mainstream. They've created this incredible new persona that has so much strong desires to change things. Well, most people, who just live in their life, they don't really have a desire to change anything other than possibly the way that their partner speaks to them, treats them, makes their dinner, and it's a totally different energy. It's a process. We chose not to get stuck in any type of box at all. And that box that we built needed to be surrendered and let go of. It's easy to interchange, shift the personality. It changes all the time through life. But how about being that which is prior to personality, that doesn't have any opinions, that just is peaceful and happy and joyful in its own experience?
Very freeing.
Yeah. The nonsense, thanks for taking time to put it into context. The nonsense was when you said that it's your own suffering, and suffering is a thought and an illusion. So I gave an example. If you would say the same happened to your child, what you've got to see is that suffering is very separate from pain or experiencing pain. Suffering is experienced only mentally. Because prior to thinking that this should or shouldn't be a way, you were okay and there was no pain. Suffering is a mental construct through desires to change what is, and it only happens within oneself. So that suffering is a thought because it comes from the idea initially to change it. That thought translates into feeling and emotion. Those feelings and emotions are felt as suffering, and that is from the illusion which is created mentally in mind initially. So that's how I come to say that it is.
And what I do want to add to that is that the energy that you're drawing into you is more of that to test. So what we spoke of again earlier is that the energy that is surrounding this form of suffering that you're feeling and experiencing for the animals, it brings a lot more of it to you, and these kind of conversations as interactions, because it's a test to see how you react and respond and grow from the
your
situation.
hyper focus is creating a field shift, and that field is a resonance. It's an energy, it's a frequency, it's a vibration. Thoughts, actions, feelings, emotions, they all contain energy, frequency, vibration. So the energy and frequency that vibrates at the frequency of fear, sadness, oppression, death, focusing on negativity, you're permeating the field outside of yourself, which is creating that within. This is why manifestation and people that have maybe spent time looking into it and practicing it is actually create the image that creates the feeling, that penetrates the field and brings to you.
Magnetism.
If you feel abundant, abundance comes. If you feel prosperous, prosperity comes. If you feel negative, negativity comes.
Ken Wheeler is really good on magnetism, and he's got a video that is, if you're kind of ready and you've got the eyes to see and the ears to hear it, it's called The Secrets of the One by Ken Wheeler. It's quite an old video, but it's absolutely fantastic, and it explains that exact same thing that Josh was just speaking of there, is that how energy works with regards to what we are feeling, thinking, experiencing at that time. We're drawing that energy in. And when you're hyper focused on something like this, it brings a lot of experience and a lot of talk and a lot of tests for you to see if you pass or fail or need some more, or you're going to grow from this and expand from this and look at it as a positive way. And maybe that, not everyone sees things as you do, and maybe they shouldn't.
Just for example,
have to.
Millionaires become billionaires, and these millionaires have a real hyper focus on money, and a lot of people who've created businesses have lost their businesses, but it was only 7, 8 years, 10 years after they realized that the fact that they lost their business actually helped them become more successful. And it's the same with here, just because you've reacted and you've lost your balance, being able to sit back, contemplate on why is going to create a more awareness around why, the thoughts, the feelings, the emotions, the conflict, the resistance to life, the desires to change things, and ultimately bring you closer to your freedom. So everything that happens to you, to others, is absolutely perfect, in perfect time, as perfection. And it needs to be seen that way. Otherwise, there's more resistance from within, more desires to change things, and there's no acceptance there. I see a dead carcass on a plate. I don't see abundance.
But again, you're labeling. When you see things like that, your mind is labeling that as good or bad. But
prior to mind engagement, that is what it is. There's no possibility of changing that, because that
is
animal
there.
has already died. Now, one could say the animal's dead, So I can either appreciate its life and get the nutrients and sustenance and have gratitude for it being a source of energy, or one can say, that's disgusting, I don't want this.
Suffering.
You know, I'm not even going to offer it to somebody who does eat meat because I don't want to poison
Poor
them.
Animal.
And
so can you see the part of you that suffers? This is all we're expressing. It's not that you would eat it or not. It's the fact that your mind has labeled that as good or bad. So the illusion that you're creating is like a program of the spiders or the bee. Oh, the bee's going to sting me. Oh, the bee's going to sting me. Oh, it stung me. You know, it's bringing that energy to you, and this is why you're suffering. It's not that you're not seeing it for it just is what it is. And, you know, this is why it's being brought to you. The energy is being brought to you to understand that you're suffering in some way that could be freed if you embrace that trigger.
And abundance and gratitude could be felt in that situation where you bring positivity to the things that you have, to the consciousness that you've attained. So I'm grateful for the abundance of fruit, and I have gratitude for the experience, the knowledge, and the wisdom that I have attained that allows me to eat of a certain way.
And that's my choice.
That focus creates an energy that is abundant in gratitude, and joy is felt. But if that is not given in that moment, and the focus is on the negativity, you feel the negativity and not the abundance. You continue to create the negativity in your experience in your life and felt within yourself, when this is a choice, if it's a choice. And what we're trying to do is give the tools and the elevated pointings for you to be able to see and make a choice to consciously create these different types of perceptions within oneself, to be able to experience joy by choice rather than negativity without choice.
But it's absolutely okay if that's not your journey at the moment. So Josh and I are always here for help and support, guidance for what we've experienced, but it might not be for your journey at the moment. It may be in future, it may not be ever, but we are simply pointing from our experience that the suffering comes from the judgment that you have labeled it good or bad. It doesn't come from if it's right or wrong. If you know, some beings feel like it's okay, some don't. You know, we're this way, that way. But if we balance that and be okay with anything, then we have no element of suffering there.
All you can do is be the best version of yourself if you can, you know, and then you can do this through these practices. You know, it's better for you, for your feelings, the way that you live your life, to not attend to that negativity, because it creates negativity. You be vegetarian, vegan, whole food, plant-based, fruitarian, great, brilliant. Would you like it if somebody who is meat-based came to you and told you shouldn't be doing this? If that affects you in that way as well, there's room for work. But just as that person saying you this, he has a belief. That's fine.
And you know, a lot of the opposing views are of, you know, a lot of beings that are on this whole food plant-based are deficient, and it's true. You know, a lot of beings cannot get the nutrients from these unfortified foods because they are not grown properly. So they do have to supplement. And then these beings that are on the other side of the fence are like, right, well, why do you have to supplement if it's so great? And it kind of makes this back and forward argument again of like these energies up and down, where Josh and I just sit in the middle and watch it all unfold, because we are not making judgments on other beings, and we're okay with everyone else having their own experience, because that's exactly where they need to be at that point in time.
Everyone's individually walking through their own experience. It's just simply that. And how one feels is through how they think, and how one thinks is through the perception of the subconscious ego mind. You can choose to think or not when you have this tool. Rather than thinking, you can consciously contemplate and create something totally different than something that's automatic. Naraya, this has to stop. The whole vegetarian movement needs protection, so let's not accept anything from those energies. Eating foods that vegetate is an excellent relationship with our parents. It's excellent with everything. You know, life itself is perpetual when you eat the correct things, and it needs nothing to interact with it to create food. But again, it's for somebody such as yourself to um, have that type of interaction with life. And what we do is the very same. It's a totally different interaction than it is with meat-based or processed food diets. But it's for us. But it's losing the desire to tell other people or to control or manipulate other people that creates the freedom within oneself.
Because what happens now with Josh and I when we go to events, supermarkets, or out anywhere, beings are just drawn to the energy that we give off, the love that we have for our family, that we share, because we're so free from judgment and concepts of other beings' journeys, that we are just free, and is a very authentic way to live, and other beings want to be around that. Whereas before, when we were trying to persuade others to join in because we felt the experience and we knew the healing that we had from it, it was repelling a lot of beings, and they were like, they would like it initially, and then it would be like crash, and it would be very hard for them to sustain, because we were able to sustain that because we've always been quite dedicated to
that we acquired about eating healthily.
But others don't necessarily have that. So we've got to remember that everyone is on their own journey, and some beings can see that of where you're coming from, and other beings will take a while longer to see that, if not at all.
Yeah.
So we have to be respectful.
And we fully understand quick three, you know, how you're feeling, but why we're creating so much attention on what you're saying is because we want you to be free from even those concepts. We're not trying to change the way that you act, the way that you eat. We believe and we feel like it's wonderful that you don't. We really do. But it's holding this in your mind that creates a little limitation and suffering through desires to change people, change things. And that's all we're trying to point to you, is that you can still do what you do and be as you are without that element of suffering through that desire. See, nothing wrong with beliefs as long as you're not basing your happiness on others' suffering. And I mean, beliefs are not truths because they haven't been experienced. But someone that bases happiness on other people's suffering isn't actually happy. As soon as that moment, which has brought them more power, they go and suffer themselves. So
they're like a bully.
Yeah, they trying to do something that's like a bully. They go home. As soon as they finish, they resent, they regret, because what they want is people to like them. So it's just a relationship of energy and how it works within people. So I'll share this as well. For people in the chat, this is Quake again. I truly recommend that you read the book called Essence of Gospel Peace. Hear from Christ himself how wrong it is to eat animals. And if anyone wants to check that book out, it was recommended by him. And if we don't follow any law and want to feel freely and do whatever we want, then we will live in a godless and lawless society. And that's why there is law and there is religion. For people that are unconscious and haven't elevated their self to a certain state, that they know these things deep within themselves. Because when one is elevated, one has no desire to control, to hurt, to damage, to cause any issues to other people or in society. So religion is needed for a lower consciousness.
They call it the natural law, isn't it, of the natural being, like the actual being. So the pureness of your essence, the soul, would never do that or feel that or want to embark in that. We don't have to be told that. That's just our natural being. But over time, our consciousness has evolved. We're suffering if we hold that concept on an illusion that everyone should follow that.
Revenge, resentment, fear, pride, lust, greed. These are all in mind. Mind is free from thinkingness, which is where we're pointing to, has none of these traits within inside of it. He doesn't want to change, doesn't want to hurt, he doesn't want to do anything to anyone. He just loves his experience and is in deep gratitude for experience, because experience is phenomenal.
And actually what religion does is it does divide.
And also people follow religion because they don't know.
It's blindly following, though. It's not on their experience, it's on someone else's, or a book, or a being has said, or I believe this is a belief. It's not a truth. And that's the reason why religion creates a lot of problems in the system.
But understanding religion points to exactly what we're saying right now. If you understand it holistically, the words that we speak and the pointings that we give is the essence of religion. It's reunion with oneself.
But it's an internal work. It's not an external. So when we externalize it, that everyone should be like this, everyone should know this, we are the ones that are spreading the light. It's like we are externalizing what we should be internalizing. Everything in the Testament, if you internalize it, then it's perfect.
Those that will be led, those that shall be led will be led. This is it in the Bible. And those that follow blindly, even scripture, without understanding, are being led. Even if they believe the book is the word of God, without understanding of it, it means nothing. They follow him blindly, acting unconsciously, even though the program of religion is of benefit to society and it attains law and it keeps people acting in what we would say good manners. It's still not liberating oneself.
Yeah, it's not freedom. And when you say they should be taught love, love is, we are love.
Then Christ or Buddha was religious. They taught love. And yes, everyone should taught love. You cannot love if you still judge other people for what they do, especially around food.
It's not from your essence. This is a judgment. This is based on a pure judgment. And can you see that the area of concern is a trigger for you?
Those that judge shall be judged first. The judgment that you make creates the judging within because you feel that negativity.
And it's not, you're not coming from a place of love when you're judging others.
Love is understanding.
Unconditional.
It doesn't have any desire to change anyone.
So when we say we should be taught love, love is, we are love. That is, love is the law. Natural law.
You are taught not to love through ego and ignorance of self.
And to judge others. Like this is a heavily illusionary part of the ego that's hidden in the thoughts of, oh, I'm doing good because I'm creating a world with no suffering. But in actual fact, it's the judgment that is causing your own suffering.
Yeah, just for example, we take out the meat and animal killing from the equation. What do you think people would be like? Do you think people would automatically no longer suffer? The world probably would be a little bit different and maybe a little bit worse without that, because it needs to be there right now. Oh, right, okay, I wanted to type Christ or Buddha was not religious. Okay, so Christ or Buddha was not religious, but they taught love. And yes, everyone should learn love and compassion. This is the same thing, that the essence of what we're trying to point to is self-love. But how can you love yourself if you resent yourself?
But you also can't, it's not a teaching, it's an inner standing. So like when we say inner peace, inner balance, self-love, self-care, it's not that, oh, I love myself. It's a knowing.
And it comes through levels of understanding, the law of vibration. It understands the law of will. It's an understanding through your journey. It's through recognizing that certain traits and desires within yourself create your separation from love. he understands that if you look into the past and you have a desire to change it, you resent the actions that you may or may not have done, which isn't self-love. But letting go of this and understanding that everything was perfect is opening the space for love.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of the saying at the moment, it is what it is, and it is so freeing. It's like
the moment that you can really fathom things are as they are is the moment that you find liberation, because you lose traction and resistance to change anything. It's a beautiful thing, and there are so many tools and tips that we can communicate with you on. It's very hard because it's so vast, and everyone is so individual within their persona that what we say might help one person and not the other and things like this, but there are ways to help you. And I really encourage this conversation that we're having with you, Quake, and I appreciate the time and energy you've put into typing this up, because we know it might not be easy for you to express this, and you may only get a certain limitation within your sentences. So thank you for bringing this up.
And, use it as a tool and a practice to open dialogue with others and communication, because it really helps on your journey to freedom. So the more you express and communicate with beings that understand, and this is why our community is really beneficial for others, because there's no judgment. Like, we are not judging you for your beliefs, your truths, your experiences. We just love to have a kind of energy exchange that helps others and to interact together and learn about triggers, judgments, and how to balance those energies and then be free from suffering.
Yeah, giving people the space to be themselves gives you space to be the self. And Lisa, thank you for your comment. My husband eats meat. I think Lisa's been pretty much predominantly fruitarian for 3-4 years since we've known her. Do I judge him for it? I used to, but no longer. It just is. He benefits more from my unconditional love than my chastising or condemning him for his choices. And if you continue to do that, the relationship that was once great is not, because one being who's changed their perception and actions on life and believes is superior to their partners, who they loved and cherished dearly prior to this, is now the one which has created the divide in the relationship. And
that's what you find a lot, isn't it? The beings that embark on this journey are the ones that initiate the force, and then they push the others away, but when you come back full circle and embrace that part of them, then their partner starts to think, oh, I see healing here, I see health here, I see the light here, and then they kind of want to adapt their behaviors and their energy towards what they feel a pull towards rather than a push. So it's all about balancing again, isn't it? And we've done that in our relationship a lot. We try things, and if it feels right for us, we keep with that experience, and that's how we kind of adopted this new way over time.
Lisa said it there, and it's hard to be able to get yourself to that space. And I know Lisa, it's taken you years to be able to, complete the task of what you've been looking for, within yourself.
And you have done a lot of the great work, and a lot of beings that have been with us for quite a while have been on this journey with us and walked this journey with us, and for that we're truly grateful, because we've experienced things with you guys over the last few years that our energies now are so aligned that we can just support each other and encourage each other on this experience and this great journey.
And no matter how far that you get along, there's always some hidden part of the ego until full surrender. And just bringing those traits up, but uplifting it and just accepting it as a part of the journey is so powerful and important for each and every one. There's no mistake. There's only perfection at play here, an opportunity to continually expand. Very, very important to recognize. Quickly answer this one before we go, and thank you for being with us for 1 hour, 33 minutes and 33 seconds.
That was a perfect time.
There has been talk on the Telegram channel about consumable borax. Do you have any knowledge or opinion on consumable borax? It depends on the application of it and why one would want to do it. We have more of an holistic approach to health and healing, and it's not something that we have put into any existing protocols. So I think you might be, if you're a part of our community, pop onto the Q&A and we can talk a little bit more in depth about it, why you would want to consume it, what its purpose was for, and maybe bring some light to a better way of healing or bringing something to remedy.
So if you're not part of our community, Josh was just mentioning, then every 2 weeks we have a community questions and answers via Zoom. And you're
It's
quite welcome
private,
to...
We have I think it's 130 or 108 Q&As that we have on the video section within our website as well, for just Q&As prior to this. And I can assure you that every single question, from the nature of consciousness to the body, mind, healing protocols, to concepts, to theories, and has been spoken about and answered if you embark or enjoy the work that we do. Also, there are an immense amount of video libraries on other subjects too. We've got probably 10 courses that are life-changing.
I think someone on I think on our Telegram chat mentioned about like osteoporosis, and we've managed to kind of reverse a lot of these diseases or discomfort of the physical body just through simple practices that we have experienced on our journey, that we've outreach to other beings that have really benefited from these practices. So if it's something that you're interested in, like we said in the description below, Josh has added the email for the 6 weeks challenge, and our website address is on there if you're interested in joining any of the Q&As that we hold as a community. And also the Telegram group is on the website as well for the link. So if you'd like to join that community, then
come support us, and also make a change today. Embark on a journey to great work of holistic health in its mind, its body, and self. Utilize the posture course, because posture is key no matter what age you are. Utilize the yoga course to create flexibility, mobility. Utilize the fitness course to get home or gym workouts from basic to advanced, to understand nutrition on there.
You've got the breath work.
Yeah, utilize the breath work.
The power of the breath is a key element to healing, and a lot of the way that we tap into the present moment is by the use of breath and dispelling negative energy, fight or flight. The inhalation and the exhalation. So we got the in and the ex. So there's a constant reciprocation of that energy and how it's transferred within the body. So these practices that we've put in place on our website, we've taken a lot of time to really coach and guide and help and support you guys through any transitions that you may need. If it's a more one-to-one specific part of your journey, then we're able to connect with you.
There's lots of information. There's an incredible vast amount of history on posts where you can search certain topics and they'll come in the search bar. But
and not just on our website, but we offer all of the information that's on our website is pretty much on the YouTube channel or our Instagram, across the sites that are free as well. So if you're unable to join us on any of those avenues, then just search. That's why we do the live stream as well. Yes, but if you can't join us on the website, then come and join us. Usually about once a month we at least do the chats live here. But,
if you are the one that spends £100 on a meal out,
or £5 a day on a coffee.
You pay £40 for a personal trainer, and you do that twice a week, and
medical bills. And
we're just offering a space, and those courses that we have are life-changing, incredibly life-changing. They are, and if you really channel yourself into them, you'll shift your life and the experience that you have. I just wanted to touch on one of the things is our transformational diets that we have on there for people to help transition on any different type of diet to what you would say is like an evolution or the next step in their diet to progress, to feel what it's like to change and shift diets. And then that is a driving factor to continue to progress on your journey of food. And obviously diets, there is different recipes and things like that. Quake says here, I'm sorry we're not picking on you, Quake, but I'm enjoying the conversation. We never learn from the great masters of the past. We like to commit the sin, and even when we don't learn, and even we don't know when the suffering comes. You say we, you're collectively speaking, and I know many people that have learned from the masters of the past, and they continue to put it into a present practice and teachings, but sometimes the teachings don't seem very interesting to a mind because it wants something very hyper complex. But the journey is within oneself, and the only way to change experience is within oneself. So embarking on that journey will alleviate this type of thought and the judgment on others, not learning from the past and continually committing sin, because it's not within my experience at all anymore. Sin is existing within the mental construct of one's personality. And there's no need to suffer. And this is predominantly the last half hour or 45 minutes of this call. And
what I would love for you guys to just take on board, I know a lot of you do with the beings that are on our community, is just be open to new ways. And where you hold something so close to you, so dear to you, is the ego's grip on what it believes is right or righteous at that point in time. And this can shift and change within hours, seconds even.
You can just let it go.
Be open. Just be open to that communication that you can have with others, and authentically express without the hate or the resentment and the judgment of others. Just be open to others' will, free will.
But yeah, understanding that you cannot change others' will. You cannot change the will of the universe. All you can do is change your own will. That's a great start. And once you really truly understand that, you'll start to let go of these traits that kind of hold on and like to control the outside world, recognizing that it's in here and it's within. Good to see you, Brother Justin. Thank you for your lovely comment. Hi, brother and sister. So much continued gratitude for your efforts assisting to augment that light within. Beautiful to see you here. So I think that will be it today. I think it's more than enough for people to sit with and
re-listen.
Re-listen. It might be too much for some. They might flip through.
Sometimes as well, I look back to some of the Q&As that we've done, and it's just nice to kind of recap on some of the past ones as well. So if you haven't watched any of the past ones for a while, it's nice to have a re-listen. I know that a lot of the times when I resonate with something, listening again really helps to understand different parts of it. So, feel free to add any comments to this one, because what we do on our next Q&A, we revisit the description here and the chat and just make sure that we haven't missed anything. So if we have missed a question that you've written and we haven't covered it, please rewrite it in the description box below.
Yeah, in the comments.
In the comments. We can look at it next time we take part in a Q&A.
Yeah, Sister Lisa. Sister Tina, thank you. Lisa Bergs, nice that you have become enlightened. You sound emoji. She's been taking on board the important things, and we've seen you change over the years, sister. We're very grateful for the levels that you've attained within yourself. It shows, and I'm very happy to see that you are now at peace with yourself and the world. Very important. So thank you all for joining us. We hope to see you very soon. We have our Q&A this Sunday. Happy solstice. Enjoy this period of time. The light has become very light, and it will then steadily continue to get darker. We have had some nice weather here in the UK for the last few days, so we're very grateful for that. We have been enjoying the sunshine. Remember, it's within you. Your perception is key. And continue the great work.
Love to you all, beautiful family, and we shall see you.
Take it easy with the Steven Seagal diet. Don't explode. I won't. Thank you so much for your judgments.
I
God
think
bless
you look like a beautiful man
Thank
that I
you.
love.
Thank you. I am very healthy, happy, strong, and I'm surviving. So
And not suffering is the main thing. He's very balanced.
Very balanced. Take care,
I'm sure
everyone.
that doesn't rock you and
No. I love the humour. It's very, very welcome.
Thank you for sharing your energies with us tonight, and we will see you very soon.
Thanks for going off to make the new movie. As Stephen said, well, take care. See you Sunday if you're joining us on the Q&A. And thank you for your time and energy. Love you all. Take care. Goodbye.